Joined now by Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Palmer. And Jim, when you had to evaluate Jonathan Schoop so far for this season, what's the number one thing that stands out?
Well, I'd rather evaluate him than pitch to him, to be quite honest. Well, you know, there's so many things. You know, we always knew he's a pretty good defensive player. We always knew that he, you know, had one of the you know, he's like a Bobby Grich arm that turned the double play. And there's nothing like when you have runners at first and third, or you need a double play turn, you know, less than 2 outs, a runner in third, and all of a sudden you get a turn. But, you know, he can hit for power. He's hitting for average. His on-base runner, you know, batting average with runners in scoring position is off the charts. I mean, he's the poster boy of why you scout in Latin America. $50,000, and you got Jonathan Schoop. You know, marvelous player, and let's couple that with terrific guy. I mean, about as humble, about as good a kid as you're ever going to meet. And you know, the amazing thing, Demper, talking to him the other day, and Calvin Maduro was here, who scouts down at Curacao, and you know, Aruba and all that. I said, how big was Jonathan when he first signed? He said 158 pounds.
Really?
Well, he's 230 now. They got him listed in the press guide. The press guide at 6'1", 185. That's many years ago. So 158. And I said, Jonathan, how'd you put on all the weight? He said, Mickey D's, McDonald's.
He was still 13 pounds heavier than I was when I signed as a catcher. But, you know, Jim, talk about some of the changes and the things that we've seen in Jonathan Schoop this year. I mean, the consistency, you know, that he has showed this second half has been amazing. You know, one of the best players, I'd have to think, in baseball as far as improving on what was already very good.
Well, you know, Terry Crowley, you know, one of the great hitting instructors, great pinch hitters, used to always say 1,500 to 2,000 at bats, and he's right in those numbers. So you learn not only about yourself, you learn what the club, you know, the team wants to do. You learn how to hit in clutch situations. You don't let the game speed up. And I think he's done a great job of that. You know, also it's in a pretty good lineup. I mean, you know, this is a very good hitting lineup. You know, Manny, slow start. As you mentioned, Tom, now up to 33 home runs. But he's, you know, you never figure the game out, but you get a better handle on what you are and what they're trying to do to you. You know, the problem, and you know, you see it not only this September, hit 181 last September. He's hitting 222 this year. I think what's happened is because of the way the Orioles' great start, 22-10, and the fact that Flaherty wasn't there, he hasn't gotten enough rest. And to me, you know, he's just tired. You know, he's, I think, tired not only physically. I don't care if you're only 25. But, again, I think the emotional and the physical part would be nice to get some off days. But because of the Orioles trying to get back into the race, really, for the last 4 months after the great start, he's probably played a little bit more than he probably should.
You know what I've really liked to see about him, Jim? The energy level. And how much fun he has when Jonathan Schoop comes out on the field. He's bouncing around with all the other players. You see him even going out for the national anthem. His last step before he lines up is to jump way up in the air on top of all of them, knock them out of the way, make room for himself. But he just has fun playing the game of baseball. Put the fatigue and all the stuff and the overwork off to the side. The guy is just a pleasure to watch out on the field, and he has so much fun with Manny all the time.
Well, he's a real guy. You know, he gets it. He, you know, this is the big leagues. This is a great place to play. You know, he's going to make a lot of money. Just imagine, again, I mean, $50,000, it's more than I signed, but it was in a different era. So it's still not, when you compare him to some of the other guys, you know, Manny got over $5 million. Gausman got over $4 million. Bundy got $5 or $6 million or whatever. So, again, the money well spent. He gets it. He understands how lucky he is, and he's earned the right to be the MVP because of the caliber of play. He's hit more home runs per at bat. He's walking more, not a lot, but he's walking more. You know, the average is up, all the numbers across the board, and I thought he said it best. He said, you know, I wanted to be better this year than last year. He is, and now how do I get a little bit better? And he will come to spring training in as good or better shape, and he will do what we all did back in my era and our era, Demper, is they take away all the RBIs and whatever. Once you figure it out, you get yourself in shape and you perform. And he's had a marvelous year. And it's not over yet.
Well, Jim, we always appreciate your comments and stopping by to visit with us down here on the second floor. He's been headed up to the third floor to be with Gary Thorne in a few moments.
The penthouse. I'm going back up to the penthouse to broadcast.